With Valentine's Day happening this weekend, today's show is all about love, sex, and chronic pain. Many individuals with chronic pain problems find it challenging to maintain this important part of their lives. Fear of causing more pain or injury, worrying about being unable to perform, or of rejection by a partner, or just plain disinterest can interfere with healthy sexuality. Sex, after all, is supposed to be joyful and pleasurable, not a worry of cause discomfort and pain. Kalila and I will be sharing our own personal journeys, and of course, we'll be diving into our question of the week. When you're intimate, do you feel pleasurable pain, excruciating pain, or both? Are you ready for another chronic pain conversation? Let's go. Hello and welcome to Chronic Pain Conversations. My name is Sharifa McLaren Thomas, and this is my lovely co-host, Kalila Bruzel. This is a show where we have open and honest dialogue about chronic pain. We share on our experiences, acknowledge the wide variety of chronic pain diagnosis, and look at ways to manage chronic pain. So we're going to jump right into pain or pleasure to get a status up on where both of our bodies are at for this show. So Kalila, pain or pleasure?
It's both again, my love. Hi, you guys. It's both. So I have something that I didn't tell you, my love. My pleasure is the fact that yours truly, her face was on the billboard beside the Super Bowl stadium this weekend. Did you know about that? Did I tell you?
I heard that Tom Brady passed by and took a little.
So much pleasure for that. Pain in terms of this weather is kicking my butt, mama. I need to get out of here. So I'm making plans. but overall, we're doing okay. Today we're doing okay. Tell me about you. What about pain?
My weekend for the most part was all pleasure. I had little hiccups here and there, but I rested. And it's fun you're going to pain and pleasure, and today's show.
Hey, it's a good one. I'm so excited about today.
I'm excited.
So excited about today.
I don't know if they've realized yet, but we got our sexy going on.
Hey.
I can't see everything, but just know, I know for a fact that when my husband sees this, he might come home early from work.
All right, people, we're just saying that, Sharifa says that, she's got a butt in the oven in about a month or two.
Where?
They're asking the questions.
Where?
Who? You. All right, so let me ask you this. What is, why did you want to do this show? Let's talk about this. Why did you want to do this show? Because I'm overly excited about this.
Okay. So first and foremost, I think that it's needed. People with chronic pain without, let's just face it, sex is a part of life. That's one of the first things God asked married people to do, But I mean, not saying you have to be married to indulge in certain activities. But I just think, like, for me, and we'll get into that a little bit later, but there's a lot of things that happen where it's like, I kind of give some oohs and ahs, and it's not pleasurable oohs and ahs. It's like, no, you that hurts. Like, and I just think I'm not alone. I think I'm not alone. I'm being so real right now. I'm not alone. And if I am, then whatever. But I know that I'm not. So I think I wanted to do that to reach the audience who had those concerns, but was just a little hush-hush about it,
Yeah. No, I did not. I get what you're saying, and you are not alone. I wanted to do this conversation because of the fact that we don't talk about it. Sex is, a conversation that people feel very uncomfortable having, which doesn't make sense because everybody wants to have it, but you don't want to talk about it. But now we're talking about chronic pain, and something that should be pleasurable, is hurting you, is leaving you with after effects, is leaving you depressed. It's making you wonder about who you are and your self-identity. This thing is supposed to be so pleasurable, and all of a sudden it's turned into this really painful thing. And I just know that we need to have this conversation, but not just have this conversation. I'm excited to give the tips and the coping skills at the end. Hey.
I'm excited for the tea.
Okay, so I have a question for you, Ms. Sharifa. Okay, so did you know that studies show that individuals with chronic pain are more likely to experience difficulties with sex than those without pain? I mean, but about 1/2 to 2/3 of people with chronic pain report significant reduction or loss of sexual functioning because of pain. It's okay. 1/2, 2/3.
Yeah.
That's not a good percentage, mama. That's just
definitely not.
That's not a good percentage. So I'm feeling very sorry for some people out there right now.
But hopefully after the show, that will change.
Hey, I like the way you think.
Okay, so listen to this.
Okay.
Did you know that nearly 50% of patients reported that pain affects their sexual enjoyment? 72% reported having sex less frequently following the onset of back pain, because we know we got to put our back into it.
Behave yourself.
70% found their sex life was less satisfying after the onset of back pain. 61% said that their back pain made their relationship with their partner more difficult.
That's not okay.
And then there was another little one. Men who take painkillers for chronic back pain may be at higher risk for erectile dysfunction.
See, like, we don't have this conversation. You know, some of our brothers are out there and they're like,
it's not their fault. When you listen to the stats, you see that there are a number of people going through it. They just don't talk about it.
We don't talk about it.
The person who you live in the same house with, who you talk to every day, they just do not have that conversation.
And that's what's really hard. Like, how do you stay in a relationship, have difficulties, and not communicate? That for me is what's like would be really difficult. And you know, this is something that I want to be able to enjoy. So, you know, okay. So it's really funny because, you know, some of the causes are there's so many people out there with chronic pain. Which of course is difficult because of the physical demands, right? Like we're talking about, like you're talking about, put your back into, sorry. It increases the heart rate, breathing, and taxes someone, and it reduces energy due to fatigue. So we already are dealing with fatigue. We're already dealing with poor sleep and stress, right? Now intercourse comes along and it's like physically exhausting. Now it's becoming uncomfortable. It's straining your muscles, it's straining your tissues, it's straining your joints, and there may already be hurting or sensitivity to touch. So now you're like, this is like work.
Yeah, work.
Right? This is do I really want to go in? And it's a difficult thing in terms of trying to navigate around that. Like yourself, for me, my self-identity was really changed when I was experiencing this stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah. What are some of the other causes? Tell me. What do you know?
Someone with angina, I found this interesting. Someone with angina, which is a type of chest pain caused by reduced blood flow to the heart, may be a concern for the fact that sexual activity will bring on another attack.
Right.
So that's interesting because it's like, I've heard people say, you know, when they have health problems, they don't want a heart attack in the middle of intimacy, which some of us may laugh at it, but it's a serious deal.
We never actually
just cannot handle that kind of excitement.
That I don't know what to think about that in terms of, you know, like the way that you say you're like that type of excitement. I was like, yeah, that really is excitement, right? You've got people that are having migraines when they're about to like
climax.
Can you imagine? Like you're like that. it's hurting down there. It's hurting up here.
Oh God, hold on. Okay. Like, you don't know what to navigate. Like, the mind is telling you one thing, the body's feeling another. Like, it's a real deal. It sounds funny, but it's real.
Okay. And it's just interfering with people, like, their sexuality, because the pain itself, it's including your mood disorders. It's doing things like decreasing your sex drive. It's the medication or the stress. You know, some medications change your nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
We're having this conversation because some people, they're going through stuff. And something that you brought out when you were having a conversation, I think, with your depression, was that you didn't realize what your meds were doing to you. And here we have people where some meds are changing their nervous system, affecting their blood flow and their hormones, which are the two important factors when it's coming to your sexual response. Right? So now you're having a loss of self-esteem and a change in self-image, and it might be, you know, subtle, but it's devastating, and it's causing these sexual barriers. And if pain has left you changed, unemployed, like, people don't think about this, unemployed, not able to contribute to things. You know, you're thinking about if you're damaged, you're thinking about avoiding sex altogether, you're thinking about avoiding intimate situations. Think about when you're just being touched. When I'm in a flare-up and I'm being touched, it hurts. Like, when you're having a flare-up and someone is like touching you or holding you or cuddling you or all those other things, and it can lead to such depression. And that's such a vicious cycle, my love.
100%. I actually can relate to some of these causes. Definitely my medication is my number one thing. But it's funny, my medication will work where it might be like 9 o'clock at night, we're unwinding everything. When, you know, people feel like, okay, well, that's the time. You know, we got a busy day tomorrow, so the earlier the better. Like, let's just be real. Like, we ain't got all night for this, okay? But at the same time, I'm scheduled to take my meds maybe 2 hours before. So by that time, my meds would have kicked in, and I'm just like, don't touch me. Like, I'm not in the mood. Like, no, like, dead serious. But then 4 o'clock at night, are you sleeping? You gotta get up in like an hour, 2 hours anyways. So let's just kill that time. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. He might come for me after this. But if he gets home at like 4, okay, like, I'm ready. You're not ready, but I know you can be ready. So let's go. You understand? So my meds does that. Like, it plays with me. I can also, I'm gonna be real once again, that when it comes to chronic pain and like the touch, not even just a touch may hurt, but if he takes my foot and he's Jamaican, like, flings it or does whatever, like, he's hearing ow. I feel no ways because it hurts. That's just what it is. But I'm a sit. What?
No. I love it.
Looking for it. But we'll talk about that later. That's where conversations would have happened prior, where he knows if I say ow, we just got to try something else.
Yes.
We gonna get the happy ending one way or another. So I just feel like it's another show, but when you find that right person, having conversations, them understanding what position works, what position doesn't work, it'll come together. But definitely my meds, I can 100% agree. I have agreed with loss of self-esteem only with the fact that I do dialysis. So I'm going to show you guys, I have a catheter right here. And so that alone was like, at the beginning, I was like, that ain't sexy. But I mean,
put a little heart on it for Valentine's Day.
I ain't even got to do that. Because he's still going for what he wants and feels no ways. And still, hallelujah, praise the Lord, the man still loves me with or without it. So,
you got a good man.
Thank you, Lord. So those are the two things I can definitely relate to, other than just the general. Listen, sometimes it's just gonna hurt.
But there's the good hurt, bad hurt. There I love this girl. I love the fact that I can be so open and honest with this chick.
That's what we're here for.
Let's
That's what we're here
not
for.
lie.
Spill the tea, Kalila. Spill the tea.
Okay, so here's the deal. So I've had a couple of different things. Um, I've had I've had a guy come to me talking about ED erection, like erectile dysfunction,
Mhm.
and things happen, stress happened, and we used to be like friends with benefits back in the day. And he came back and he was like, "Can we try a little something?" And you know, and he wanted to see how he was responding. So I was helping a friend out. I
Already.
was getting a hookup.
We haven't got to the good part, and she's already laughing, guys. So you know a good part's coming.
No, it's really interesting. I think for me, the experience that I've had when it's come to the chronic pain and the sensuality, sexuality. So here's the thing. I've always been a very sensual woman, not sexual, not promiscuous, but sensual. And, I enjoy how I carry myself. I enjoy having a little bit of fun. I enjoy having a little kinky side to things. And behave yourself, girl. And then all of a sudden,
I'm really excited, but I got to tone it down a little bit. But I have my husband on speed dial, so.
But the 2017 accident, it really left me in a place where sensations were hurting before or during sex. I was having flare ups and pains afterwards. And I was to a place where I was, reducing it. At first, you're first having an accident and you're like, okay, let me just take a little me time. Let me fix a little couple things up. And then there's a place where you're like, let me try something.
Yeah.
But then you try something and you're like, this isn't good. And I'm used to having a little pleasurable pain, but this became like hurting, like
you didn't enjoy it at all.
There'd be penetration, and all of a sudden there'd be like a sensation that goes down my whole leg, and it just is like icy and prickly and hurting, and you're like, what the heck? Or then there's that place where afterwards, you're supposed to have a little bit of exhaustion, but afterwards I'm seizuring. I'm seizuring in the middle of it. And on top of it, I didn't know that they were seizures at the time. And now, I'm being with somebody and I'm seizuring in front of them. And I'm like, do I look like damaged goods? And we're both like, WTF, what's happening? Right. Then there's the fact that I didn't even know at the time that I had my alpha thalassemia, which was my iron deficiency. So getting my heart raced up, doing all of these things it was really hard. And there was a point, even after my car accident, that I had incontinence issues that I had to work on. And, when you're sitting there and you're like working on, you wear a pair of Depends, you're like, I don't want you touching my, no. You can't put your hand out.
Yeah, no.
It's just, and so there's this thing where you have to find yourself and you have to figure out what to do. And and like I said, like I'm the girl that I enjoy being intimate. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like just about this. I enjoy being intimate. I enjoy touching. I enjoy being touched.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, touching me in the wrong place could send me just screaming, and that really messes with someone's mind.
It messes with your confidence too.
Listen, okay, girl. So my friends used to tell you, like, back in the day, I used to, like, when you go out and guys are trying to pick up you or like try to talk to you or they're like trying to come out slick, I would be like, yo, straight goods. I like a man that knows how to play basketball and knows how to go to the third, fourth, or overtime. And my boys would be like, I can't with you, Kalila. But it made guys wonder, do I actually
have a chance?
Do I? Right. And then it left me going, can I even say that anymore? Can I even, and it was not just the positions, it was the whole experience. And then my meds did stuff. And, since the new accident, because of what I went through the first time, because I'm seeing my body respond
Mhm.
like it did the first time in certain things of how it's being triggered so easily, or some of the issues that it's going through, or how I'm talking to you about being tired so much,
Mhm.
in the cold. The accident was in August, and I'm like, don't touch me right now. Like, I don't, it, it feels like being a virgin all over again. It feels like,
I went through that period before I got married, so
you know,
I did.
it's
I chose to be celibate before getting married.
because you're just like, who do I actually let?
Mhm.
Because I
Walk
don't know
away
how my
fully.
body's going to respond.
Yep.
And
Yep.
do you care enough about me for me to actually go through what I could possibly go through
Mhm.
afterwards or during?
Yep.
Right? Like,
100%.
I know, crazy. So here's a question for you.
Mhm.
When is the right time to tell someone that you're experiencing chronic pain?
To be honest, I'm
Yes.
speaking from like I think generally it's when you feel comfortable. You never want to put yourself in an uncomfortable position. But when it comes to dating, like for example, I was funny story, and I might have to tell you another time, but I told my husband about my chronic pain issues and my health issues in order to drive him away from me. Yeah.
What?
And nonetheless, he still put a ring on it. Anyways, but for me personally, and that's with anybody, friends, person I'm interested in with, I just feel like I'm telling you this straight off the bat. You make that decision whether you think you can handle it or you think you can't handle it. And trust me, I've done it and people have said bye-bye.
And that's the thing too. Like, we need to have the conversation about, what the other experience is like, because one of the things that I've learned with this journey is the other side, the people looking in, they're being affected by this also in every aspect that you go through.
Mm-hmm.
They're watching you, and they're either internally or externally expressing it to you
Yeah.
too, right? So you sit here and you're like, so you're talking, one, you tell them that you're having experience with chronic pain, but when do you kind of go, okay, now I know that I told you that I have chronic pain, but I might be having chronic pain with being intimate? Where do you, is it the same time? Is it different times? Is it?
No, because it's so funny that never came up because of the fact that I chose to be celibate for a period of time. And then I never really experienced chronic pain sexually until a few years ago, I should say.
Oh.
So that was never a conversation with even my husband until it was happening. Then I realized, like, oh, okay, this might hurt sometimes. Like, some nights we have good nights, others it's just like, all right, like, we can't manage much. We still get to the happy ending, but, but we
More
have
high
some
five, you did your
mountains
job.
to climb before we get there. But I mean, you know what I'm like, that was
Listen,
never a conversation. So that's a good question.
if the job is meant to put you to sleep and it puts you to sleep.
And that's so funny. You said something. Usually you're exhausted after. Like, I'm ready for a round two tree. Like, I'm not exhausted. Like, that's so funny. Because he'll fall asleep while I'm here. Okay, like, do I wake him? Like, I
Okay, so now I know that experience too now, which is really
okay.
interesting. So you're supposed to be like, you're supposed to be exhausted. And you're like,
Well, that's what I always thought. Like, it's something, y'all just do your doo-doos, do your thing. You cuddle, you're going to sleep. Whereas, like, I'm still up, maybe editing a video for YouTube, trying to
but
pass
it
the
comes
time.
down to our medication, when we're taking our medication, how our medication is affecting us.
Right.
It comes down to so many
Because I
things,
do get insomnia with my meds sometimes.
right?
So it ties in.
It does tie in. So, we need to talk about some tips and some coping styles, because the fact of the matter is like, to have satisfying sex, you need to feel good about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to examine your own emotions, right? And we're sitting here, and many of our sexual attitudes and our beliefs, we begin when we're learning young. One of the things that you were talking about is I thought about this, or, I always thought about that. There's so many myths that come out there,
Yep.
and they're coming from our friends. They're coming from older children, parents, jokes, magazines, TV, movies. Everything's putting into, this distorted misconception of shoulda, must, should nots, must nots when it comes to being sensual, right? But to maximize your sexual enjoyment, you have to really sit down and break down what your misconceptions are, so that you can feel free enough to explore and discover your own sexuality, especially if you're having chronic pain. Like
100%. And I think,
well, not especially, no matter what,
yeah.
No matter what.
But, that also ties into the fact that I want to say, talk to your doctor.
Okay.
Reading your medication sheet when you receive your meds, investigate about, what your side effects are, and talk to your doctor about any side effects that seem to be affecting your sexuality. I never used to do this, and I've been taking some serious medications for, I want to say, about 6 years now. And about 2 years ago, I put on my big girl panties and spoke to my gynecologist about the sexual aspect of my marriage, which tied into certain things that was going on. And like, that was the first time that I've ever spoken to any doctor about anything in regards to sex. But I realized, like, I should have been doing that a long time ago.
It's true. And it's funny because it wasn't until I was sent to the gynecologist after my accident that when they examined me, they were like, your pelvic is out of place, your hip. Like, I knew that my hips were out of place in one way. But then I found out that, internally it was affected. Like, we didn't think about that. So we as women, we should be checking that out, because the curve of us and all of those different things affect the respond, where our pain is, where you can and can't hit, This is where, even after you've talked to your doctor, you need to communicate with your partner. Right? You gotta, I like this, you gotta reclaim your sexuality, talk about your feelings. You're just like, preach. Right?
Listen.
Yeah.
Continue. Because
okay, well, think about this, right? The first thing that I would say is, like, talk with your clothes on, because trying to do it with your clothes off is already awkward enough. Like, so yeah, what's going, and some people will say, rehearse what you want to say with them, or emphasize how close you want to be to them, because there's this part where if you're not talking, you don't know what the other person is saying. And if you and you need to tell them, like, I want to be close to you, but I might have this fear, or, I may have these concerns about certain things. And, you might think that your partner has stopped touching you because, they've lost this interest or find you undesirable. But what happens if they're thinking that, if they hold you too tight, they might be having this fear that they might cause you pain, and they love you so much or care about you so much that they don't want to touch you because it might cause you pain. So you got to be effective in your communication, because it's not only going to help you and your partner explore your fears and desires about sexuality, but it leads actually to expressing more intimacy.
100%. And I can agree, because the fact, like, when it comes to sex, that's not a taboo conversation. We're not afraid to talk about it. How was it? What can we do? Like, it's just an open conversation. But when it comes to, like, issues that I may find or whatever, I'm very thankful that my husband's the kind of person, like, have you spoken to your doctor about it? Like, he pushes me to have that conversation outside of just us. Yeah. And he follows up. Like, if I have not made that appointment, he will, like, take my phone, go through the contacts, what the doctor's name is, and dial the number for me and say, here, like, he's like that, because my well-being is, like, number one on his list for me.
I love that.
So it goes into saying, like, find you a good person that's not afraid to talk about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
Seeing a therapist might help. It's not for everybody. I'm not going to say that it is, but it's definitely an option. See someone who can maybe sit down with just you, just him, the two of you together. You never know. I've heard a lot of things about therapists. I went to a therapy session for my own personal stuff. Because when it comes to other things, I got it on lock. Anyway, but I've talked to a therapist and I've heard a lot of things growing up about therapy and different, all that stuff, and it's nothing like what I've heard. Nothing. So try it. It's definitely an option, and you never know.
Counseling is such an option, not just here, but on so many different things. You hear us talk about it all the time. Counseling helps you.
Yep.
It helps you. There's the fact that you got to plan ahead. Okay. So, there's so many myths about it just always needs to be spontaneous or it always needs to be. Okay. So really and truthfully, it can be a little more satisfying if you plan an event. Make your date nights with your partner, and pick a time where you're like most energetic. So, if Sharifa's up and energetic,
I gotta be the example. I gotta be the example
because I'm
the guinea pig today. So go ahead. Okay,
so let's talk about this. Okay. I will be the guinea pig now. Let's talk about strategies on how to manage your pain prior to intimacy so that you can be like relaxed. So I know it sounds awesome, but do your warm-up exercises before you get into your exercise. You gotta do a warm-up before you work out. Might as well do a warm-up.
Now I remember you said this to me. Before, and I'm just thinking, I said, sometimes like nature just calls. I ain't got time for no warm-up.
Okay. I don't mean a warm up like you sit there and you get on the elliptical for 10 minutes. I'm just talking about you can stretch in the middle of it. You can let's talk about the showering before, right? Like warming your body. The concept is just warming your body up. So do a little showering, make it intimate with the two of you, get a little massage oil on there, get a little bit of foreplay. Don't start with me, girl. Sometimes it's not. The intimacy part, we're talking about the pleasure of it, and everybody assumes it has to be the penetration.
I mean, you know what? I was thinking something, but then I have to think everyone's different. Okay. I know if there's a showering together.
What?
Nature would have already called.
That's okay. That's okay. The shower is hot. It's keeping your body warm, right? You're massaging. It's getting right. Sure. Now, here's something that I said to you before, and you were like, what? I was like, take your pain medication in advance. Right? That way, when it kicks in, you're ready to go.
We jumping off the walls.
My chiropractor once said to me, she's like, Khalil, if you're going for walks or all this stuff, and you know that your body's going to be hurting you, take your pain medication before you go out. Same thing like this. If we know that we're going to have some of it, get that pain medication in there.
I believe that. Never thought about it, but it's good advice.
It is, becoming more fit is an excellent way to also increase your comfort and enjoy sex. Okay. It's the other thing that we talk about, and people don't really, they're like, no, it doesn't affect it. Yes, it does. If you learn that if you can get your body to walk more, swim more, go out and do other activities, and you benefit by coming out of the bed or just getting, increasing instead of having shortness of breath, you're not having as much fatigue and pain. How you exercise your body gives you more adrenaline and gives you more energy for when you're being intimate. So, and it also lets you know your limits. That's the other thing, right? If you can only go for a 5-minute walk, well, you're going to be, just saying, you might be a little more limited. And I'm not going to be lying. I had that experience. And then the more and more that I had to start working out more, and the more
endurance.
I was increasing my endurance because I need to get my endurance back, girl. Hi. Okay, what else is there?
Okay, so allocating rest times to manage a flare-up. There's no harm in saying, all right, give me 2 minutes to take in the spot that you just hit. See, you shouldn't have drank that. There's no drinking during the show because that's what happens. No water, nothing. But no, allocating rest times. If that's what has to happen, then that's just what it is. Your body will need time to recuperate. So, for example, not even just 2 minutes, but if you know that maybe you had some great intimacy last night, maybe you won't do it tonight. Maybe tonight will be a movie night. You take that break. I mean, there are other ways to just take a break for the night after. Yeah, it doesn't and that will make you mix it up too. Last night we did the good stuff. Tonight, movie night, or we're cooking tonight. We're we're just doing something.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be every single night. Anyways,
Moment of
moving on.
You got to remember the flare-ups too, right? Like if you're having flare-ups with other things going on in your life, remember that this can cause a flare-up too. So when you understand that aspect of your life, understand this aspect of it as well, right?
Yeah. And it's funny, for me, flare-ups don't just happen for a day. My flare-ups are sometimes weeks. I'm gonna be honest, I've had a flare-up for 2 months.
Oh no.
Yeah, so fortunately it hasn't happened since I've been married, and I pray to God not. But that was another conversation that we had to talk about. What if?
Okay.
So just I guess pace yourself.
Okay. Have you heard about the thing called desensitization?
I have, but not in its full extent.
So there's two things. I'm gonna drop these ones to you. There's desensitization and there's Sensate Focus. So desensitization is a place where we're sensitive to touch, right? And so what's happening is the more and more that you do something, the more and more that it actually, you become more tolerable to it. You gradually build up a tolerance by exploring self-touch regularly, and you're communicating on how much it hurts you or not. So if there's a place where you understand that, you may get an increase of pain for a little while, but knowing that the more and more you do this, if I do this for a week, right? When it was hurting my arm, that was one of the things that my therapist would have me do. She's like, if it's hurting, keep doing this, because you're massaging it, you're desensitizing it, you're letting your nervous system feel that again. When you do that with different parts of your body, you're starting to desensitize it, and it won't affect you as much anymore. And so what used to be, unpleasurable pain, well, you'll start to get used to it, and it'll get desensitized. Now, it can take time, but it does work. I can say that. Then there's something called Sensate Focus, which is really a well-established approach to building up your sexual contact, which works well in reducing your anxiety and minimizing your risk of flare-ups. And this is basically, you're starting by sharing your physicals. You start literally from start. You're at this place where you're all of a sudden rebuilding. It's the more step-by-step approach to introducing intimacy with the pressure of like feeling full penetration in intercourse. So you might, if your body's reacting as soon as something's happening to it, it's a different type of desensitization, but your body's getting used to it, and you gradually slow yourself into the act and the exercise again. And you've got to think about this as baby steps. It's baby steps with everything that, like, I like to talk about. If you went to school and you're learning something new, then you give yourself time to understand it takes 4 years for me to get through this course. You've already walked into school knowing that it's going to take 4 years to get through this course. If your body has changed, if your body is dealing with chronic pain and you want to try it, give yourself time. Don't put that pressure on you, if that makes sense.
100%.
Okay.
I like the fact of rekindling the spark.
Oh.
Spend time just to get to know each other all over again.
Okay.
It restores your emotional intimacy. So not physically, but just your mind connecting. You're getting to know maybe its favorite color all over again, why he does what he does, like how, just little things. That I think will grow into physical intimacy. It'll make it easier to move to that step of physical intimacy, and start to reconnect physically with, exploration of each other's bodies,
Sorry.
And little things, foreplay, let's use that word.
Okay.
That feels good to your partner. Feels good to get to know that instead of going right for the good stuff.
this is what's so interesting because, there's this place where people forget be creative. And was you're talking about this, okay? So I used to have this game, like I used to have this game where it was like roll the dice, and there were these cards, and you could shut up, behave yourself.
I know what you're talking about.
And there's like feathers in it, and there's like massage oils in it, and there's like you have to touch yourself somewhere or kiss your partner somewhere, and it's all about sensual touch and you like re-exploring that, because people have to understand, like, you're okay, the biggest orgasmic cell on you is your skin. How
Mm-hmm.
you touch somebody, right? It's like it's the best way of expressing your feelings. It's like the most okay. So can I get a little real for a minute?
Let's do
Yes, yes,
it.
okay, so here's the deal. The most popular places to like really the sensual organs on the body is like the mouth, the earlobes, the neck, the breast, the nipples for both genders, basically. The hands, the
That's all
navel
that.
area, the wrist. Like, think about kissing the back. Think about kissing like the inside of the thighs and the arms. Like, there's sensual places. Behave yourself. Right? Like the right touch on almost any area of the skin can be very erotic, and we're talking about this because we want you to kind of get those stimuluses back.
Mm-hmm.
Experiment with different types of touches, right? Many people can become aroused when they're touched with the nose. Okay, with the nose, with the lips, with the tongue.
And listen, tell them where you want to be touched. Tell the person where you want to be touched, how you want to, like, it helps.
It helps. It helps. It helps in terms of
And they make a note. They do make a
yes,
note.
yes, they do. Yes, they do. Because you want to find positions that are less strainful, like,
Yep.
sitting on the chair, lying side by side,
I've had
kneeling.
instances where I say, like, no, don't touch me. And that one little gesture, I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's it works. When you have conversation and you verbally let each other know what works, what doesn't work.
and 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 it's this place where, if you have arthritis, if
Mm-hmm.
you have that back pain, you like, how do you worry? Like, I was sitting here and I was thinking about like our guest the other day that was talking about the knee pain and the jumper's knee, right? Like, what happens when you're young and you want to like get your groove on and you're married, and all of a sudden you're like, every time it's winter, you want to, like, it hurts to be intimate. You got to have that, it's like, the little foreplay is playing with the knee and massaging it up. I don't know, put a little heating pad on it. But there's things that we can do to manage it to help
And
us still.
I can't stress enough, it sounds funny and you might get visuals in your head where you're laughing. But listen, if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do.
Right. Okay. So, be creative with pillows. Be creative with pillows. Let's talk about it. We were going to say it at some point in time. The oral sex thing, it helps, depending. It helps. We're going to say it, but it's up to you whether you want to do
Yeah,
it.
that's everyone's own personal option.
And
But yeah,
you
it works.
know what's really interesting? We get afraid of things like the sex shop or the stag shop or any of those intimacy shops, when truthfully, they have the things that will be able to help you. They have the vibrators, and that can be pleasurable instead of, a physical insertion. They have the lubrication in case, there's that dryness that's happening. They have different ideas to help you spice up your life. They have games.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just whips, chains, and like dirty porn. Like,
Yeah, I don't know why people think that.
I
Like,
don't know why people think that.
you have books, guys. You can
Listen,
read.
go check out. And nowadays, you can go and check on the shop line before you even go there. Like, there's this community where we, as chronic pain sufferers, there
Mm-hmm.
are ways for us to still enjoy this aspect of our lives.
Yep.
And the truth of the matter is some of these stores is where you got to get your stuff.
Yep. That's just what it is.
That's just what it is.
There's a lot of places that you can also go to for support.
Okay.
There's two websites that I want to give you.
Okay.
I saw practicalpainmanagement.com. So they have information that people in the situation, chronic pain, that can just benefit from knowing about what to do to manage sex and chronic pain. They have information on that, and they also give you an opportunity to join in the conversation with other people who are going through this or want to know about this. And then reachout.com is another website of the same aspect as well.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, are you ready to get into the question of the week?
Yes, I
Oh,
am.
you were so excited when we were like, okay, well, what are we going to come up with? So, the question of the week is this: when you're intimate, do you feel pleasurable pain, excruciating pain, or both? Now, I'm going to say both. I'm going to answer first and say both. but I am thankful, and it's really funny. We did get a response on this, which was really great. We had a lovely lady that was on Facebook, and she said, it's definitely an always present dilemma for my husband and me. Fibro has almost 30 years. 30 years.
Wow.
Has been gotten, it's been bad since menopause, and now arthritis on top of it for the past 2 to 3 years. So now you've got chronic pain, now you've got arthritis, now you've got the menopause, and she's like, it's very frustrating to us both. Like, how?
I'm looking at that last part. Very frustrating for us both. It makes me say to myself that I've never actually asked my husband how he feels sometimes.
You need to. The same way that you need to ask your parents or your siblings or your nieces and nephews or your friends how they feel when they see you going through certain
I'm
stuff.
thankful for that comment because it made me realize something personally. But I'm with Khalil. I say both.
I say both.
Some days are good, some days are bad, but for the most part, we make it work.
But some days you don't mind both.
Wow.
Stop playing pony right now. Stop playing
pony. In my head. No copyright in my head.
Okay. Give us our keep it moving moment because we got to end this moment.
Y'all ready for this? Okay. So our keep it moving moment is let go of your inhibitions, push your boundaries, explore your limitations, and find what stimulates you.
Behave yourself. You enjoyed saying that way too much.
Oh, I really enjoy that. Okay. So that, I think, was a great keep it moving moment.
It was.
So, let's wrap up the show with some final thoughts.
Okay. So, you guys, if you have these worries about, your chronic pain and your sexual side, your sensual side, your love side, your all of it, that intimacy side, know that you're not alone. And there's different ways of treatment. There's different ways of getting things out. Intimacy. Now, this is what I want you guys to know. Intimacy can actually make you feel better. The pain's natural, painkillers, those endorphins, they're full of those things during your touch and your sex. So the closer you feel and you during your making love, you can feel stronger and better, and the ability to cope with the pain. So that endorphin stuff is actually making you more happier. So it's a catch-22, but trying intimacy, trying to push, I don't want to say push through it. That's not the right word. Mm-hmm. Exploring with it, discovering yourself with it, will help you learn how to cope with it, but have fun with it.
100%. I also want to just say, remember that this is just another problem associated with chronic pain. Mm-hmm. With your condition, whether it's fibro, lupus, anything like that, just like pain, fatigue, and physical limitations, it's a problem that can be addressed.
Yeah.
Chronic health problems need not to end, your sexual aspect of your life. It doesn't need to. Through good communication and great planning, satisfying sex can prevail. So it can be any little thing. Like my husband sometimes just puts candles on and turns off all the lights, and I'm in pain, but that alone sets me like, okay, keep it ready. But with that being said, I want y'all to just take this home. If you didn't take on anything else, just take this, okay? Just remember that you can be having chronic pain, but believe me, you can always give that happy ending. Mic drop.
Right? And And that's why we're probably dressed the way that we are dressed right now, you guys, because I'm Kalila the Overcomer, coming with a little Valentine's love in my sexy SWAT suit.
Yep. And I am Sharifa McLaren Thomas from YouTube's The Thomas Life in my little kimono. Y'all don't want to know what's under this, but it's all sexy.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Chronic Pain Conversations. We'll be back next Tuesday talking about defining chronic pain and effective communication. So be sure to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram at CP Conversations. And if you have a chronic pain sufferer, we would love for you to share your story. We invite you to be part of our guest, and you can click out and fill out a form on our bio on any of our social media platforms. Remember, have a blessed day, and remember, Chronic Pain Conversations is a show that enlightens and shares about advocating for chronic pain. I am way too overwhelmed today, my love. I am losing myself way too much. So we just want to say thank you and goodbye. Have a great week, you guys.
Bye.